Disney rallied 6% on the news. Hey everybody. In today's video, we're going to go through 5 stocks to watch and one specific technique that you need to really be aware of going into this very specific week, because this is pretty much a triggering week. Now, if you take a look at Disney, this move, we gapped up and then we just sold down. I'm a little surprised by that because frankly, this is big news. Now, we are up 6%. You do have some reversal patterns here, so we should probably talk about them. You have this island down here by itself. So you have an island, then you gap down. Then the island then reverses and you gap over it. So this is an island gap reversal. When you see gaps here, gap here, here, start paying attention. Okay, because you're seeing a major shift. That's not normal if you look at this stock, and it's really not normal. Here's a gap, right? And another one, and you see the reversal of the trend. So you really want to pay attention to these. This is massive volatility in a very stodgy company, and it really shouldn't be having that. Now we know why we've had that with earnings. And once those earnings came out, that was pretty much it. Iger threw in the towel and said no more. And he's stepping back in. Why that is important is because of this. Over this 15-year history to this date, and you can't give them the date because obviously that's when the market was rallying substantially. But from this date on, Iger ran the company 15 years. During that period of time, it never did any better. It never had a better period of time. So you're going to see a lot of fund managers start wanting to accumulate this over time. Maybe they're not going to run into it this Thanksgiving, but this should definitely be on your radar. Maybe you get 2-3 days of consolidation before you push higher. Very easy to figure out where your stop is, right? Your stop is going to be right there. It's a very simple trade. I did start scaling into this. Just disclosure, I do have a position in this. I like this a lot. And I do think that this will continue to build over time. But we should talk about some of the larger names and some of the themes that are going on out there. So Tesla was one we went over in the top 10. Very clearly, we said if it breaks this level, that's it. You know, you're probably going to head down a little bit. And we kind of measured this off based upon the arrow. So in other words, all you're doing is taking the line from up here and you're just marking it to here. And that gets you about 11%, right? Just from that mark. And then that just basically got us down to this, which is kind of interesting because that ties in specifically. It's 12%, but that ties in specifically with a line that's right over here. Right? So that's always interesting to me how that stuff kind of lines up. So I think our next target here is 155. We've been short in the trading community and will remain short. And we have puts. I mean, I just don't see any reason why this is going to rally. And it fits the theme of tax selling. So we're going to go over a couple more names you should be looking at for tax selling. But just understand nobody is up in this name. And the reason why you might see more weakness in this name this week is you have wash sales. So wash sales are 30 days. If you sell stock, you can't own it for 30 days till after that, or you can't claim the sale. Well, you're going into the 3rd week in November, and then you have Christmas, the holidays, and then you're going into January. So if you want to buy Tesla next year starting out, and you're long right now, and you have a loss that you want to take, this is your week, and next week's your week. After that, you're not really going to be able to buy it in January and be able to write that loss off. And that's something that a lot of people are going to look at. That's why this week and next week are huge for tax loss selling. Start looking at names like this that are breaking down. Coin is a great example. This is another one that we talked about in the Saturday Top 10, and I will link that video at the end. Also, thank you for your comments on that video. I read every single comment and I will respond to them, but your comments help me create content, so please keep them coming. Huge, really positive feedback when actually doing a podcast on macro and fundamentals, so we're probably going to do that at some point, but just thanks again for the comments. It does help me a lot in which way to go with content. So if you see this level, and then you see this level, and then you watch as we crack that today, we cracked it at 40.61. We hit all-time lows, right? So you start looking at this and going, well, where are we going? Okay, well, forget the company, forget Bitcoin, forget everything else. Everybody that's in this is down. Let's say that you think that this is a great company and it's going to get washed out over the next 4 to 8 weeks because of what's happening with Bitcoin, right? And what's happening with FTX, and you want to buy it back. Well, this is your week. This is your week to sell. Next week is your week to sell. After that, you're done. You're not going to be able to claim that loss if you want to buy it back. And the last thing somebody wants to do is see this at $25 and really want to own it for their fund and not be able to do that because of tax consequences. That's not where you want to be. So I would watch this, because the moment you crack this level, that's it. I think the floodgates are going to open. Now, there was some positive developments out there as well in some of these names. We should probably talk about those. I have a bunch of those tax selling names to go over. Maybe I'll go over more tomorrow night. But Pepsi, this was one that someone brought up in the trading community. It's funny, I had this out there probably a month ago on this break, and then it just died. And now we're seeing this move over. But for whatever reason, these names are just on absolute fire, and they're breaking out of these huge year bases. So you look at Pepsi, it's breaking out. Look at this, MSTR. I got MicroStrategies on the brain. Look at this flag you're breaking out of. I mean, that doesn't get any cleaner, right? That is a super clean flag. And look at where your stop is. It's going to cost you $1 to be in that trade. Let's call it $1.20 with slippage. Look at this on the monthly. I'd be more interested in these and building longer term positions if it wasn't Thanksgiving week. But you should still be aware of them. And that should only stop you to some extent. But even this pulls back, rallies, pulls back, rallies. This is exactly what you want to see, this kind of pattern. This is exactly what you want to see. And I think this is important because it's showing that money is coming in the market. And there's one theme that I really want to hammer home here. Okay, Iger's getting back in the game. And Iger's getting back in the game here, and he's getting back in now. Now, he basically runs that company, and he's extremely well respected. Let me put it to you that way. So he could have come back in here. So why now, right? Why now? Start the new year off different. But also, these people see something, and these people, I mean, these titans of industry, they see things in the market that you and I do not see and do not know how to pick up. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I only really picked up from it, from being and doing this for years. But they see things that we don't. They see economic cycles change that we don't. And I'll show you a glaring example of one that happened a month ago. But as I talked about this in the top 10 on Saturday, Taiwan Semi, there's a reason why Warren all of a sudden is buying Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, it's not because he thinks we're going into a massive recession and no one is going to buy semiconductor chips. Okay, it's not, Iger's not going back into the company because he thinks that there's going to be a massive recession. All right, we have no idea what's coming. We're assuming it's a massive recession, right? That's what we're assuming. We're assuming it's a recession, or it's going to be something massive, some kind of slowdown with all the layoffs. Don't assume, just trade what's going on. And these people are telling you that something else is going on differently. So just keep that in mind. From studying Warren for the past 20 plus years I've been trading, I think we're up to two tech stocks now. One's Apple, and the second is Taiwan Semi. Heck of a time to buy it in the middle of when we're supposed to be going through a tech rout. So it is possible that we are forming some kind of bottom, and I do think we should talk about this. Now, also, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, click all notifications, and hit the like button because it helps me greatly with the algorithm. But this is when that CPI number came out, and it was awful, and we couldn't figure out why we bounced. Well, we bounced because institutions pick that CPI number apart, and they saw something we didn't see, okay? And it's just really that clear. They went through it line by line and found things that we didn't understand. And then it comes out again. And this is what happens. And this is what we've been dealing with ever since. And I think that's a really important distinction. I'm not saying this looks ideal. This looks far from ideal. But at some point, there will be some kind of bottom or some kind of rally, whether you call it a bear market rally or whatever you want to call it. There will be a rally in the market. And I'm leaning towards the fact that we might sell back down, and we know this, right? We know we might go sideways because we've been talking about some of these indicators out there. I went over them Saturday. The 50% indicator, or the stocks below the 50-day moving average and above the 50-day moving average. That's a key metric. I'll link that video at the end. But when you're starting to see these levels, you're not taking out these lows. You're not getting to these levels. We're down 30 basis points on the day, okay? This is far from a meltdown. The meltdown is in overvalued tech stocks. That's where the meltdown is. It's not in the S&P. It's in the NASDAQ. So, the NASDAQ is down 1% today. The S&P is down 30 basis points. IWM is down 51 basis points, okay? This entire trade is marked off perfectly, right? Here's your 200-day moving average. Bottom line with this is, are we going to flip or not flip? We don't know. But we do have the possibility of actually flipping this maybe next week, going into January. That's what we have to look for. But just understand that there's a difference between Carvana being down 13%, PayPal being down 5%, Square down 6%, okay? There's a huge difference there between those names coming in, right? And what we're seeing on the underlying side of this, right? Monster up 1%, Pepsi up, okay? Disney up 6% on the news. So this is how it plays out. I'm going to leave you with this chart that I show a lot, but somebody told me that I should show the same things more often so that it gets ingratiated. And you can obviously comment on that if you think it helps to see things more than once. But this is where you were in 2000. This is how long it took the SPY to hop over. 7 years, right? Look at this. For the Qs, how long before we hopped over? 16 years. Look at the down, see how far back they'll let me go there. And they'll go back to 2000 and go there. Small caps, then you start seeing the SPY because of diversification. Stodgy old companies, which is exactly what we're starting to see move here. And tech can still drop. Tech can still be weaker. So keep that in mind. Certain names can come in more. But for tomorrow, focus on the tax selling names that we went over. Start making a list of your own. Go through names that are at an all-time low right now. Just give you this tip. All-time low names, they're just going to grind this week and next week lower. If you are interested in the trading community, there is a link up here in the top right. Simply click the link and you will be added to the wait list. Have a great evening and trade to win.